When a 72-year-old man who hasn't flown in over a decade decides to surprise his granddaughter by flying solo across the country? Well, let me tell you about my dad's adventure that turned into the most stressful yet hilarious 48 hours of our lives. I'm talking missed connections, technology meltdowns, and a security incident that almost got him detained. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming, including me. My name is Sarah, and 3 weeks ago, my dad George dropped a bombshell on our family dinner. My daughter Emma had just started her freshman year at college in Seattle, and she'd been feeling pretty homesick. We live in Miami, so visits weren't exactly easy to coordinate with everyone's schedules. Dad had been quietly listening to Emma's phone calls about missing home-cooked meals and familiar faces when he suddenly announced his plan. I need to give you some context about my father. George is what you'd call old school in every possible way. He still uses a flip phone, writes checks at the grocery store, and thinks GPS is something the government uses to spy on people. The last time he flew anywhere was in 2011 for my wedding, and even then my mom handled all the arrangements. She passed away 2 years ago, and since then, Dad has become even more set in his traditional ways. So when he declared that he was going to fly to Seattle by himself to surprise Emma, the entire table went silent. My brother Mike nearly choked on his mashed potatoes. My sister Lisa actually laughed out loud thinking it was a joke, but Dad was dead serious. He'd already looked up flight prices online, which for him was like climbing Mount Everest, technologically speaking. The first red flag should have been when he asked me what a boarding pass was. I spent the next hour explaining modern air travel to him, from online check-in to TSA pre-check. His responses were priceless. When I mentioned liquid restrictions, he asked if his aftershave counted. When I explained about taking off shoes at security, he wanted to know if his orthopedic insoles would cause problems. Every question made me more nervous about this whole adventure. To something? There's no talking him out of it. This is the same man who built our family's deck by watching YouTube videos and reading library books about carpentry. He figured if he could learn construction from the internet, he could certainly figure out air travel. Against my better judgment, I helped him book the flight. We chose what seemed like the simplest route, a direct flight from Miami to Seattle on a Tuesday morning. I walked him through creating an online account with the airline, which took approximately 47 attempts because he kept forgetting his password. We settled on something he could remember, his dog's name followed by his birth year. The week leading up to his departure, I called him daily to go over the checklist. Pack light, arrive early, keep documents handy, don't joke with security, stay hydrated, charge your phone. Yes, by this point I'd convinced him to upgrade to a basic smartphone, though calling it that was generous. He could make calls and send texts that looked like they were written by someone wearing oven mitts. The night before his flight, I offered one final time to accompany him or at least drive him to the airport. He declined, insisting this was something he needed to do independently. His exact words were, "Sarah, I fought in Vietnam and raised 3 kids. I think I can handle getting on an airplane." Fair point, Dad. Tuesday morning arrived and my phone started buzzing at 5:30 a.m. Dad was calling from the airport parking garage, completely lost. Apparently he'd arrived 3 hours early, which would have been fine except the parking garage had multiple levels and he couldn't remember where he'd parked. After 20 minutes of me trying to guide him through the phone, a kind security guard helped him locate his car and directed him to the terminal. The next call came from the check-in area. The self-service kiosks had defeated him entirely. He'd been standing in front of one for 15 minutes, pressing random buttons and getting increasingly frustrated. A gate agent eventually took pity on him and printed his boarding pass manually. Crisis number 2 resolved. Then came the security checkpoint, and this is where things got really interesting. I'd prepared him for the metal detector, the shoe removal, and the bag scanning. What I hadn't anticipated was his reaction to the full-body scanner. When the TSA agent directed him to step into what Dad later described as some kind of space-age telephone booth, he absolutely refused. According to the airport security report I later obtained, my 72-year-old father told the TSA agent, and I quote, "I didn't fight for this country just to be strip-searched by a robot." The situation escalated when he tried to demonstrate that he wasn't a security threat by emptying all his pockets onto the floor, including approximately $37 in loose change, 3 different types of antacid tablets, and a pocket knife he'd completely forgotten he was carrying. The pocket knife discovery led to a secondary screening area, where Dad spent 45 minutes explaining to increasingly patient security personnel that it was his grandfather's knife from World War I and asking if they could hold it for him until his return flight. Eventually, they determined he wasn't a threat to national security, just a confused senior citizen, and allowed him to surrender the knife and proceed to his gate. By the time he reached his departure area, boarding had already begun. This should have been the easy part, but Dad had managed to lose his boarding pass somewhere between security and the gate. The gate agent reprinted it, but not before my phone rang again with him frantically whispering, that he thought he was at the wrong gate because everyone around him was speaking Spanish and his flight was going to Seattle, not Mexico. Turns out he was at the correct gate, but the previous flight had been to Cancun and those passengers were still in the area. Once I convinced him he was in the right place, he managed to board the aircraft without further incident. I thought the hard part was over. I was spectacularly convinced that the seat back screen was broken because it kept asking him to swipe a credit card to watch movies. He'd been pressing buttons and tapping the screen for 20 minutes, getting increasingly agitated. The flight attendant explained that he'd eventually flagged her down and asked, in a voice loud enough for half the cabin to hear, "Excuse me, miss, but this TV is trying to steal my credit card information." She'd patiently explained that entertainment wasn't free, which led to Dad launching into a 10-minute speech about how airlines used to provide complimentary service and what was wrong with modern society. But the real adventure began when his connecting flight got canceled. Yes, connecting flight. Despite our careful planning for a direct route, the airline had made a last-minute equipment change that required a stop in Denver. Nobody had informed us of this change, and Dad discovered it only when he landed in Colorado instead of Washington. Standing in the Denver airport with thousands of other stranded passengers, Dad did something that surprised everyone, including himself. Instead of panicking or calling me immediately, he approached the customer service counter and calmly explained his situation. The agent was apparently so charmed by this elderly gentleman trying to surprise his granddaughter that she went above and beyond to help him. Not only did she rebook him on the next available flight, but she also arranged for wheelchair assistance and gave him meal vouchers for the 6-hour delay. Dad later told me that the wheelchair was unnecessary, but he didn't want to hurt the young woman's feelings by refusing her kindness. During his extended layover, something magical happened. Dad discovered that airports have free Wi-Fi, and with his new smartphone, he managed to video call Emma. Picture this 72-year-old man sitting in a Denver airport terminal, holding his phone at arm's length like he's conducting an orchestra, trying to figure out how video calls work. Emma later described the call as simultaneously the most frustrating and endearing conversation of her life. Dad kept forgetting he was on speakerphone and narrating everything around him to her. She heard detailed descriptions of other passengers, his critique of airport food prices, and his amazement at the size of the airplanes visible through the terminal windows. When he finally arrived in Seattle 12 hours behind schedule, Emma was waiting for him with tears in her eyes. She'd initially planned to surprise him back by picking him up, but given all the delays and complications, they'd been in constant contact. Independently, no phone calls to me for guidance, no assistance from airline personnel, no panic attacks at security checkpoints. He'd learned the system, adapted to the technology, and gained confidence from his outbound journey. The flight home was apparently smooth sailing until the very end. As they were descending into Miami, Dad struck up a conversation with the passenger next to him about air travel. This poor businessman got a 40-minute lecture about how flying used to be more civilized, complete with Dad's detailed comparison of airline food quality across the decades. When Dad finally returned home, he was exhausted but absolutely glowing with pride. He'd accomplished something that terrified him, connected with his granddaughter in a meaningful way, and proved to himself that he could adapt to new challenges. The man who'd been afraid of smartphones was suddenly researching flight deals for his next visit. The ripple effects of his adventure continue to surprise our family. Dad has since upgraded to an iPhone, though he still holds it like it might explode. He's planning another solo trip to visit my brother in Chicago next month. Most importantly, his relationship with Emma has deepened in ways none of us expected. Emma calls him twice a week now, sharing college experiences and asking for life advice. She's even convinced him to join something called FaceTime, though he still hasn't figured out how to unmute himself half the time. Their conversations have become a highlight of both their weeks. The total cost of Dad's adventure, including flight changes, airport meals, and replacement clothes because his luggage got delayed, came to approximately $800 more than originally planned. But watching him gain confidence, seeing Emma light up when she talks about their time together, and witnessing this 72-year-old man embrace technology and independence, absolutely priceless. So here's what I learned from my dad's flying adventure. Sometimes the most meaningful journeys aren't about reaching your destination smoothly. They're about pushing through your comfort zone, adapting to challenges, and discovering capabilities you didn't know you possessed. My dad didn't just fly to Seattle, he flew into a new version of himself. If you have an older family member who's been hesitant about traveling or trying new things, maybe this story will inspire them. And if you're someone who thinks you're too old to learn new tricks, well, my 72-year-old father would like a word with you. Age is just a number when it comes to adventure and growth. What's the most unexpected journey someone in your family has taken? Drop a comment below and share your stories. And if this video made you smile, hit that subscribe button because I have a feeling Dad's travel adventures are just getting started.